Ladies who wear hats, part 2. I've listed the supplies, the artist pit markers that I used, so that you can refer to. There's my reference photo. I'm going to start with the skin color. I'm always going to start with the lightest tone, which is a light flesh. And I lightly just color in, and then I use my fingers to blend. You'll see that I'm just kind of fussy cutting around the arm, get the gloves, so that I make sure to not color this area with the dark brown, and then I'm going to cut out the neck area to make sure that I don't go too far down into my lace area with the skin. And I'm using the medium flesh this time, just gives it a little bit of a pink hue. This last color is cinnamon. Is where I start to add in some of my more finer details. Now I'm going to work on the little lace insert, and I'm using a warm gray, and there's 3 tones of it. And I'm going to start with one of my light colors. When I want an ecru color, I use more of a warm gray. When I want more of a white type lace, I use the cold grays and sometimes a very light blue. She's holding a magazine, so I'm trying to make sure I'm getting ready to do the dress in the dark brown. This is a walnut brown that I'm going to use. Right now I'm just using the gray to kind of give me my areas for her book that she's holding. I get this all in and I'm really happy with it, and then I realize that my hand is just a little bit too high to look like it's naturally holding the gloves. So I get a fresh wet one and I wipe back away. This is the beauty of working over the Mod Podge, is it gives me some time to work. And I go ahead and bring that down. Finally, about attempt 3 or 4, I'm ready to leave it. Now I'm using that walnut brown to get in my first layer of the dress. Being very careful to not blend into my other areas. I'll just work small sections. Starting to lay in some of my details, some of my line work. Now these markers, as they dry, they're made with India ink, so as they dry they become permanent. This wouldn't work if you just did this on plain paper. It's got to be over the gel medium. I've always used Mod Podge, so I don't really know how it works over other gel mediums, to be honest. Now I'm just adding in some of the glove. Now I'm going back up to the top and I'm adding more layers of the walnut brown, and I'm just going to keep working this to get the color that I want. Adding in the details as I go along, darts, lines. Now I'm going in and I'm adding movement by darkening and creating those ruffles at the bottom and adding the movement to the skirt. Now sometimes I start with a printed paper and then use the markers over the printed paper, again over the Mod Podge, if I want a pattern. But this one I decided to hand paint everything. Now periodically you'll get your fingers dirty, so you got to wipe them clean, especially if you're going to switch to a different color. So I had to get all that brown off before I went to work up on the magazine that she's carrying. And I'm just using a couple colors, the grays, a little bit of a golden ochre to suggest a cover. It's a little bit of a scarlet red. Alright, I've got the head that I've cut apart just over to the side as a reference. I'm adding in some of the ochre and the undertones of yellow before I darken that up with the raw umber. Trying to make sure that if I've smeared it onto the canvas that I clean it up so it doesn't dry on me. Using the walnut brown to add in the ribbon that matches her dress with the little bow on the top. And this is the raw sienna that really just gives me the final color of the hat. Just lightly putting in some suggestion of hair. And just kind of scribble curls so that you can sort of see a blending of the two colors. Now I'm back to the cinnamon and I'm adding some of the details. A lot of the face, since this is so small, just becomes very suggestive. Just a couple dots and a line for the nose. Just a couple dots for the lips and the eyes. On this one I used downcast eyes. And here I'm just using the light flesh to pull some of the color back off because the marker had gotten the eyebrows just a little thicker than I wanted. Now I'm adding in the suggestion of the chin and the ear. I'm going back in and adding my eyes. And like I said, I used more of a downcast, so I'm just doing some little eyelashes like she's looking down. A little darker, so I'm just kind of blotting it with the almost dry wet wipe. Again, using that light flesh to kind of lift off some of the color out of my way. I'm satisfied, so I'm going to give her just a little bit of hint of a green shadow. Now I didn't record, but when I got done with her, I did go in and Mod Podge over her very gently so that when I went to work on the next figure that she was secure and she couldn't be smeared or wiped accidentally. And I let it dry before I started my second figure. You really want to make sure that your Mod Podge is dry before you use the markers, or you will clog the tip and the marker will not work.